Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Achaturvadano Brahma Dvibahuraparo Harihi Apala Lochana Shambhu Bhagavan Badarayanaha Sadashiva Samarambhan Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. On the sacred eve of Guru Poornima, we again prostrate to the entire Guru Parampara and continue with the topic of meditation, which we began yesterday. For the benefit of those who did not come yesterday, we will quickly summarize what we covered, because it is very important to know how much preparation of meditation is important rather than getting into meditation and trying it. An unprepared mind can damage itself if it does not follow the methodic process. So we will quickly go through what we covered yesterday and then get on to the process of meditation and other techniques today. Can we have the slide? We said that science is a systematically organized body of knowledge. It pertains to every aspect of the world. Physics, chemistry, economics, mathematics, everything is science. Exactly like that, the study of our own personality is also a science. The study of personality with reference to yoga, Ayurveda and various other things with reference to the external body, as well as the internal mechanism of mind and intellect, everything falls under science. The study of this individual in collection is called as Vedanta. Meditation is the art of keeping the mind aloft on a single chosen thought to the exclusion of all other thought. Chosen thought is very important because the mind has a tendency to go to an object of its liking on its own. That we don't call it as meditation. Meditation is where the intellect gives the mind a particular thought and the mind is able to be on that thought alone. That is called as meditation. In effect, it is concentrated concentration. Concentration is when the mind is kept in an activity which is a broader spectrum. You are supposed to concentrate in your work. You are supposed to concentrate on the road while driving. You are supposed to concentrate on the ball when you are playing cricket. You are supposed to concentrate in the kitchen in cooking while you are cooking. When you are sitting here, you are concentrating on what is being said. I should concentrate on what I say. This is general concentration, where the thought is behind the activity that you do. In general, it is a broader area. When that broader area gets focused into a single point, it is called as meditation. So meditation is concentrated concentration. We gave the example of bullseye in archery. If a person is able to first train himself to shoot somewhere in the board, then he has achieved concentration. Equivalent. I am talking about the example in the sport. And if he is able to consistently hit the center of the bullseye again and again, that is equivalent of meditation. There is a craze all over the world, particularly when it comes to the spiritual practice of meditation. The reason we said yesterday is because it gives some instant result or benefit, particularly those who are freshly taking up that practice. Those who have not undergone the practice of meditation, suddenly when the mind is brought to a still by the person who is guiding there, or the guru, or the place, or the environment, and the course that you go through, it does bring some instant relief. But you should be careful in studying this experience. It is at most it can be taken to measure yourself. and also you have got a glimpse of what meditation can do. If this is a sustained practice later on, it has to be complemented by other practices. Merely trying to meditate is like trying to face a fast bowler who is bowling at 150 or 160 kilometers per hour. If you are not able to face the ball there, you can't say keep on trying, it will come. No, he has to do something known as net practice. He has to correct himself before he enters the pitch. So that net practice is more important, and then you correct your mistakes, and then you can again go and face in the real life situation. So exactly like that, when a person goes into the meditation camps or a course in an ashram or other things, you know that it is a way to test yourself, it is a way to understand what this can do for you. But a sustained preparation of removing the bulk of desires from us is what we need to work on. Once we reach a state of a relative renunciation, then the practice of meditation on a sustained basis becomes comfortable, it becomes easy. Otherwise, if you are going to force the mind, you thought that 5 days, 10 days I was able to do, why am I not trying, why am I not getting here, let me try harder, let me force. It is like exactly like forcing a child to sit in a classroom like this, where it cannot, the nature of the child cannot allow itself to be seated in a place for more than few minutes. That is the nature of the child. So the nature of the mind with bulk of its desires behaves exactly like a child. It has to be trained properly, it has to be given direction properly, only then it can be directed towards meditation. If a person is going to force the mind, it is going to break. So one has to be very, very careful, because see, also let us be very clear in the beginning. Here we are not to say whether you must meditate or not meditate. That is not the spirit of Vedanta. Do's and don'ts are for children, not for adults who are thinking. The science always tells us what will happen according to the basis of cause and effect. Science will not say don't keep your finger in the fire. It will say what will happen if you keep the finger in fire. What will happen if you don't keep the finger in fire? The choice is up to you. It can explain the law of gravity. Whether to dance on the parapet fall or to save yourself, that is up to you. You have to understand but the law behind it. Exactly like that. We are here just to explain, as explained to us by the masters, what is the science behind meditation. Because as I say, after all these things, if some person says, no, I meditate daily and I get some relief, there is no other pramana except your own experience as the proof. I will say, okay, continue. But be very careful in reading your experiences also. Because if a person is going to use meditation something for stress relief, or something just to have a soothing effect or something like that, even then it is actually an underutilization of a great potent practice called meditation. Let us assume a person has a brand new Mercedes car, and it has the power and potency to take you from city to city in a expressway. That is what it is meant for. Suppose you say, I use the car daily to go to Lansdowne market to buy only vegetables. Now that is not the purpose of that car. That you can do even with any normal cycle or anything that you can do. So with the potent practice of meditation, you say, I just use it to relieve myself of stress. It is actually not utilizing the meditation in the proper way, and that is why we covered what is the purpose of meditation. Purpose of meditation is dhyanena atmani pashyanti. It is the PhD or the last stage of your spiritual journey, where you delve deep within yourself to understand yourself, to open up the soul in you, the spirit in you. In the lake of the mind, you have to see your own reflection, which is the ultimate aim of our spiritual journey. But as of now, the lake is covered with thick moss of weeds. So one thing is to plunge your hands into the lake, separate it and try to see your reflection. But before you could see and gather your reflection, the moss is so thick that it will come and cover up again. The slow but sure and steady process is to take out little by little of moss and put it aside. Keep on doing it. A time will come where the entire moss is taken off, and the last few traces, they cannot sustain themselves, they will vanish away. Now, in the lake of our mind, that ego, desires and negativity are covering up like a thick moss. It is not allowing us the transparent vision to see the self within. So one thing is to quickly plunge into meditation, try to see the self within in an instant way. You can try that. That's why I said instantly it may work sometimes also. But before you could recognize what it is, it covers up. Upanishad mentions this experience, compares it to something like a lightning. There are certain spiritual practices, there are certain environments created from outside where you become externally, physically charged, spiritually charged, mentally inspired, and you go into a state of a temporary trance also. Now, we are not talking about this experience as anything negative, but do not glorify this experience as something very spiritual that you have achieved, because it can be created by a certain temporary phenomenon. See, there are some pujas, particularly in South India during the Ayyappa puja and all, they play the drums in a rhythmic way, they sing the certain songs in a group manner, and there are some people who completely lose themselves in that experience. So they will close their eyes and they are not what they are. Sometimes they will jump here and there and get hurt also, but they are not aware of it, and their completely thought is absorbed in some transcendental, let us say. Even though it can be a divine, or within quotes, divine spiritual experience, you have to understand that it is created by an external atmosphere and it can be termed as a trance. But this is not something what we are talking about, a conscious practice of meditation here. So later on also, if they recall this experience and they long for it or wait for it, then that is not going to help them. Because you are dependent on something to lose yourself, and when you are looking forward to it itself, that is showing the weakness of the mind. So if it happens to you, just leave it at that, but continue with your other spiritual practices, etc. See, this trance is something where the mind gets lost by itself in something by itself without the awareness of the intellect. There are some people who look at sunset or sunrise and they completely get lost into it. Or it could be the beauty of Himalayas or something that they go there and they completely get lost into it. Externally, that is also something like a thought absorption. But it has nothing to do with meditation, it has nothing to do with spirituality. In fact, if you try to get indulged in such activities again, you may end up even increasing your desire. Swami Ramatirtha gives a beautiful example to prove this. When you want to cleanse your system inside, you take in purgative and clear the bowels inside, you visit the toilet often for this. It is a medicine that works inside and it is a positive practice. On the other hand, if you have a viral infection and you have diarrhea, that time also you visit the toilet outside, but it is a infection, it is a disease, it is going to weaken your body. Both are externally same practices, visiting the toilet often and something is getting out of your system, but the effect of both is just the opposite. One is a healthy practice which you consciously undertake under the guidance of a doctor to cleanse yourself. Another is because of a viral infection that you are undergoing a disease. Exactly like that, meditation taken as a conscious practice can cleanse your mind of your desires. On the other hand, certain other things like mind wandering or other things where sometimes you may even get absorbed because of certain external circumstances, and if you try to glorify it and get involved in such practices again and again, it may not help you spiritually. Sometimes contrary result may happen, that you may end up increasing the desires. So one should be very careful of what type of practice that you undergo. So preparation for meditation is important. We talked about why there is a craze for meditation. This is the reason. And as I said, it is in the last few decades that meditation has been sold as a very hot spiritual commodity, particularly in the West also. Earlier we used to have community singing, community activities, or satsang in the form of study of Upanishads, Gita, question answer sessions. All this is traditional practices. That's what we. But when it comes to meditation, it was never recommended as a group practice. It is your private experience with God. We will see what is the process of meditation. We will cover that. Now, we said that the purpose of meditation is to behold yourself, see your reflection in the water, and we gave the lake example. And we then said the Shastras everywhere have emphasized on adhikari. Adhikari means who is supposed to meditate. So 100 out of 100 times wherever they have mentioned meditation, we covered certain verses from Bhaja Govindam, Atma Bodha, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. Wherever meditation is mentioned, 100 out of 100 times preparation of meditation is also mentioned. So you cannot bypass that and directly get into meditation. The preparation of mind is something like, there is a piston and there is a cylinder, like a syringe. You have to push that piston into the cylinder. As of now, because of wrong usage or not using it for a long time, the cylinder has got rust on the outside. Sorry, the piston has got rust on the outside. It's cylinder, right? Cylinder has got rust on the outside, and the piston has also got rust inside. So if you try to push it hard, it is going to break. So what you must do is, you have to clear the rust with hard paper. Then you have to clear the inside of the piston also with hard paper. Then you clear the rust and other finer dust with soft emery paper. You do the same thing inside also. Then you lubricate it with oil and you lube. All this hard work has to be done. Then when you keep that cylinder and piston, it will automatically drop in. Meditation is like that. It is that final act of inspiration when all the hard work of clearing the rust of the mind through the practices of karma, bhakti, jnana, when it is done, automatically a person has no other choice but to slide into meditation. So we have to put in the hard effort of 99% to get into the state of meditation, and then you will find the real meditation comes out of inspiration. Any spiritual activity, you take it out of inspiration, particularly meditation. There is no this thing. Is it not a practice? Yes, it is a practice. But we said it is meant for the introverts. So in the initial days, meditation is very less, and we have to focus more on our karma, bhakti and jnana. As you advance spiritually and get into a state of renunciation, when we say renunciation, a mental abstraction, when you are totally above the world, you are not affected by anything in the world. Like a lotus leaf on water, you are functioning in the world. For such a person, meditation will be much more a potent practice. Now, this principle of meditation works on the basis of the law, as you think, so you become. As you think, so you become is a universal law. Whichever way you look at it. A person constantly thinks of money, materiality, he becomes a material person. He will work towards it, he will all the time he is thinking of it, etc. A person who is constantly thinking of senses, who is indulging in sensual activities, he becomes a sensual person. As you think, so you become. See, you can be even putting an act of being a sannyasi outside by restraining your organs of action, but the mind is constantly thinking of sense objects, you are still a sensualist. Krishna calls such a person as a hypocrite. So it is as you think, so you become. In the principle of meditation, you constantly think of the self, you become the self. This is the principle. Self means God. For those who are not comfortable with the word self, you take of God. So now a genuine question may arise. Already the mind is infested with lot of thoughts, lot of desires. You are asking us to now think of one more thought, which is thought of God. So is it not adding one more thought? Already we are having so much of thoughts and desires to deal with. If you are going to add one more thought, how is it going to reduce the thoughts? How is it going to reduce your desires? How is it going to elevate your mind? There is a beautiful example given in Atma Bodha by Adi Shankaracharya. Verse 5, he talks about Kataka Renuvat, Jalam Kataka Renuvat, he says. In the good old days, they used, there is a Kataka nut powder used for purifying waters. The principle works something like alum in the modern technology. If you want to clear the water in the well, what they do is they spread this alum, powders of alum. Like that, in the pot of water in the good old days, they spread this Kataka nut powder. Now already the water has impurities. Now from external point of view, you are adding some more impurity into this, which is in the form of this powder. But what this powder does, this powder forms a thin film on the surface of the water. In this thin film, the suspended impurities of the water get stuck. The suspended impurities get stuck, and because of this, the film becomes little heavy. When the film becomes heavy, it starts sinking inside the water. As it starts sinking inside the water, more suspended impurities also get stuck. It becomes heavier. It goes down. As and when it goes down, it attracts more dirt, and finally it settles down at the bottom. What is interesting to note here is, the thin film which is formed by the Kataka nut powder is able to cleanse all the dirt in the water, but finally what happens to the film? That also goes away. So this process of clearing the dirt in the well with alum, or clearing the water in the pot with Kataka nut powder, is the process of cleaning the impurities in the water, plus in the end it dissolves itself also. So the thought of the self or thought of the God that we put in meditation is going to clear off all the impurities of the mind, and in the process finally it dissolves itself also. So it is not that one more dirt that we are putting into the mind which is having a different effect. This different effect is that it removes all other dirts and it removes itself in the process. So this is the principle of meditation, and it has to be only experienced. And again we are emphasizing, you have to go to the seat of meditation with preparation. Only then you will be able to experience this functioning in you. Otherwise it will be just a relief. Otherwise it will be a very soothing exercise or a nice exercise which may not have the full impact of meditation. This is the principle of meditation. Now, how do we practice meditation?
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.